Welcome to another edition of The Explainer. Okay, we're going to dive right into this one today because, honestly, we are looking at a situation that is literally unlike anything we've ever seen in the history of international sports. Today, we're unpacking the totally unprecedented geopolitical reality surrounding the 2026 World Cup. Specifically, we're looking at the Iranian national team's arrival in the United States. We've got this incredibly complex web of high-stakes international diplomacy, massive security operations, and intense cultural flashpoints, and it is all converging right on a football pitch. So let's cut through the noise and understand exactly what is happening behind the scenes of this historic tournament.
For the first time in World Cup history, a host nation is receiving a country with which it is at war. Take a second to really think about that. Now, you might remember the 1998 World Cup match between the US and Iran. That game was famous for its heavy political undertones, sure, but it was ultimately peaceful. Today, the stakes are astronomically higher. The Iranian team's journey has been completely overshadowed by an active, escalating conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran. But then, in this massive 11th-hour development just as the tournament was kicking off, the geopolitical tectonic plates shifted again. Literally, just as the Iranian team touched down, a 14-point draft memorandum of understanding between the US and Iran was suddenly brought to the table. According to Iranian media and the subsequent announcements, this draft peace deal includes some massive provisions. It calls for an immediate and permanent halt to the war on all fronts, and yes, that includes Lebanon. It outlines severe sanctions relief, the unfreezing of billions in Iranian assets, and importantly, it sets up a 60-day negotiation period specifically focused on nuclear issues.
But the most aggressive part of this deal? 30 days. That is the extremely tight timeline outlined in the draft agreement for the U.S. to lift its naval blockade and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And why does that matter? Well, the Strait of Hormuz is a massive global economic choke point. About a fifth of the world's oil flows through there. The mere announcement of this draft agreement actually sent global oil prices tumbling down to their lowest levels since March.
Moving on to our next section, security threats and misinformation in the skies. Let's look at how this is playing out locally. So while peace is being brokered at the highest levels in Geneva, ground-level security operations around the U.S. stadiums are incredibly tense. The FAA has established strict no-drone zones. We're talking temporary flight restrictions within a 3-nautical-mile radius of the host stadiums. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are heavily policing these skies to prevent any drone-based attacks. And if you violate this airspace, the penalties are absolutely severe. Civil penalties, criminal fines of up to $100,000, and up to a year in prison. The FBI even seized 3 drones in Atlanta just days ago. But you know, physical drones are really only half the battle here.
There is a psychological war happening too. An Iran-linked hacker group known as Handala issued this really chilling threat. They said, "Don't forget, FPVs are everywhere. You never know when one might end up right in your team's bus." They actually claimed to have hacked into the FBI's own first-person view counterterrorism drones, boasting that they had access to facial recognition and license plate screening data. The U.S. Justice Department actually describes this group, Handala, as a front for Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security, conducting psychological operations. It's a terrifying headline, right? It's designed specifically to erode public trust in security.
But here's the thing. Handala's claims unraveled almost immediately. Site Intelligence Group, which monitors extremist propaganda, analyzed the video evidence Handala provided to prove their hack, and it was a total fabrication. Actually, scratch that, it wasn't even a sophisticated fake. The footage was just recycled 2024 promotional video of a local police department using drone software to map damage from an EF4 tornado in Elkhorn, Nebraska. It was literally just a low-cost, completely recycled piece of propaganda meant to spread fear.
Now, let's shift gears and look at our next section, Tarangelis and the cultural flashpoint.
So the skies are tense, but the streets outside Iran's opening Group G match against New Zealand are at an absolute boiling point. To understand exactly why Los Angeles is so politically charged, we have to talk about Tarangelis. This is a western area of LA, centered around Westwood, that is home to a massive Iranian diaspora. California hosts an estimated 375,000 people of Iranian descent. That is the largest population anywhere outside of Iran itself. Because of this, the Iranian national team is essentially playing a home game in LA, but they're playing in front of a crowd where a huge portion vehemently opposes the current government in Tehran.
And this deep conflict is really visually represented by 2 very different flags. For many in the diaspora, the pre-1979 lion and sun flag is a powerful symbol of opposition to the current regime. Conversely, the national team officially plays under the current Islamic Republic flag. Now, FIFA strictly bans materials of a political or offensive nature in their stadiums, and Iranian officials have even threatened to halt the match if the old flag is shown. But despite all that, protesters have made it crystal clear they intend to smuggle the lion and sun flag inside anyway, sometimes even printing them on t-shirts hidden right under their clothes.
This whole sentiment is perfectly captured by Sarah Barahman. She's a 22-year-old Iranian-American protester. She stated, "They're not the national team. They're the Islamic government's team. Whether they lose or win, we don't care." I mean, that really demonstrates the deep, painful divide within the diaspora. Activist coalitions are literally chartering buses right now, planning protests of up to 40,000 to 50,000 people outside the stadium in LA. They view the national team, which is known as Team Melli, simply as a propaganda tool for the regime.
Which brings us to our final section, the human toll, the player's perspective. Let's zoom in on the athletes themselves.
So, on a micro level, how are these massive cultural and political tensions directly impacting the human beings on the pitch? Well, for starters, the players have endured an absolute logistical nightmare. Originally, they were supposed to have their training base over in Arizona, but that camp was canceled due to the ongoing conflict and visa issues. Several team staff members were actually denied U.S. visas entirely. So, they were relocated to Tijuana, Mexico, where they had to train under armed guard. Then, they had to take a late flight into Los Angeles, which required 2 landing attempts, arriving to heavy police security and protesters at their Manhattan Beach hotel just in time for match day. It's been chaos.
And the emotional pressure on these guys is just immense. Team captain Mehdi Tarami expressed a really somber reflection on the whole situation. He said, "This kind of tension undermines that joy, and it undermines the message of FIFA, which is about football and bringing about peace." He admitted to reporters that the team hasn't experienced that usual beautiful sensation of looking forward to a World Cup. Instead, they've just been feeling the tension from the very moment the tournament build-up began.
Meanwhile, the team's coach, Amir Galanoui, is desperately trying to keep his squad focused on the sport. He told the press, "We are here to play football, and we are here to represent the respectful people of Iran. We're not political people." While he acknowledged that arriving late and not having enough time to adjust is definitely going to affect them, he insists his players are determined to do their absolute best to unite people and bring some joy, regardless of the deeply politicized atmosphere swirling around them.
So all of this leaves us with one ultimate question. When global conflict overshadows the pitch to this degree, can football ever truly be separated from politics? I mean, we've seen peace treaties drafted parallel to kickoff, psychological warfare waged by hacker groups, and diaspora communities transforming stadiums into massive protest venues. It's a powerful, lingering question about the reality of sports in our modern world. And that is all for this explainer. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.